They say that smugglers still walk these streets, long after dark. Footsteps have been heard on empty cobbles. Lantern lights seen moving through alleyways where no one stands. And along the shoreline, some visitors claim they heard a woman crying into the North Sea wind. Tonight, I'm in Robin Hood's Bay on the North Yorkshire coast, a place famous for its dramatic scenery, maritime history, and a surprising number of ghost stories. I'm going to walk the village after dark and explore the real local legends, the reported sightings, and the atmosphere of one of the most talked about haunted coastal villages in England. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, places with this much history always leave an impression. Let's start at the top of the bay. From up here, you get a full view of Robin Hood's Bay. Rows of tightly packed cottages cascade down the cliff towards the sea. At night, the wind coming in from the North Sea and very little traffic, it feels isolated, almost cut off from the modern world. This village dates back years and was once one of those notorious smuggling centres on the Yorkshire coast. In the 1700s, contraband like tea, rum and tobacco was moved through here constantly. Entire families were involved. Secret routes connected houses. Hidden cellars stored goods waiting to be moved under cover of darkness. And naturally, where there's secrecy, danger and centuries of hard lives, there are stories. Some of those stories have never really left. Locals and visitors alike have reported strange experiences here after dark. Nothing dramatic, nothing theatrical, just small moments that don't quite make sense. And that's what makes this place very interesting. I'm going to walk down into the older part of the village now, into the narrow streets where most of these stories originate. The streets here get steeper and narrower as you go down towards the harbour. Stone steps, tight alleyways, buildings pressed closely together. Some of these cottages are several hundred years old. At night, the lighting is minimal, and the further you go down, the quieter it becomes. Many of the ghost stories from Robin Hood's Bay centre around these narrow ginnels, the small passageways between houses. During the height of smuggling activity, these alleys allowed goods to be moved quickly between properties without being seen from the main street. Some cottages even had hidden tunnels connecting them. Today, most of these tunnels are sealed or lost, but residents still talk about them. And over the years, people staying in old cottages here have reported unusual sounds late at night. Footsteps outside doors when no one is there, the faint sound of objects being moved, and occasionally the distinct feeling that someone is walking just behind them. There are also stories of lantern light being seen moving through these alleys after midnight. Small flickering glows that disappear when approached. Some believe these are residual hauntings, echoes of smugglers who once worked these routes every night. Others think it's simply the atmosphere of the place playing tricks on the mind. Either way, standing here in near silence, it's easy to see why these stories started. Further down towards the harbour are several old inns and lodging houses. Buildings here have served travellers, sailors and fishermen for centuries, and with that comes another layer of folklore. One of the most frequently mentioned apparitions in Robin Hood's Bay is known simply as the Grey Lady. She's usually described as a tall figure wearing a long grey dress, seen standing near windows, occasionally at the end of corridors, always silent. Guests staying in older accommodation nearby have reported seeing a woman standing in an upper window late at night, only for her to vanish moments later. Others have described hearing soft footsteps outside their room doors when the hallway is empty. There are no dramatic encounters attached to this story, no sudden movements or attempts to communicate. If anything, the Grey Lady is said to feel sad rather than threatening. One theory is that she represents someone lost to the sea, a wife or partner of a sailor who never returned. In coastal communities like this, that kind of loss was once very common. Storms in the North Sea could be sudden and violent. Ships were frequently wrecked along this coastline, and where there is long memories of loss, stories tend to form. You can hear the sea before you even see it. The sound of water echoes up through the narrow streets, and as you reach the bottom of the village, the view opens up onto the harbour and shoreline. At night, this is probably the most atmospheric part of Robin Hood's Bay. Very little artificial light, just a reflection of the moon and distant lamps on the water, and the constant sound of the tide. Many of the village's oldest and most emotional ghost stories are connected to this shoreline. Fishermen and late-night walkers are occasionally reported seeing figures standing near the water's edge, only for them to disappear when approached. Others describe hearing what sounds like crying carried on the wind, a faint voice that seems to come from somewhere along the beach. This has become known locally as the story of the crying woman of the bay. There are many variations. Some say she lost her husband to a shipwreck. Others believe she represented the many families who waited for loved ones who never returned from the sea. Whatever the origin, the reports are remarkably similar. A lone female figure seen looking out towards the water, usually in a mist or low light, and gone within seconds. Standing here now, with the sound of the waves and almost no one else around, it's not hard to imagine how those experiences could happen. Coastal environments have a way of amplifying sound and shadow. Shapes move differently in low light, and when you combine that with centuries of maritime history, it creates a powerful atmosphere. Another long-standing legend connected to the coastline involves a mysterious light seen on cliffs above the bay. Centuries ago, some coastal communities were accused of wrecking using false lights to lure ships onto rocks so their cargo could be salvaged. Whether that truly happened here is debated, but stories of unexplained lights along the cliffs persist. Walkers have occasionally reported seeing small lantern-like glows moving along the cliff paths late at night. Lights that appear briefly, then vanish. Some believe these could be the spirits of sailors lost in storms. Others link them to the smuggling era. Or perhaps they're simply distant lights, distorted by sea mist and darkness. But when you're standing here alone, looking at those cliffs, you do start to understand why such stories endure. I'm going to head back up now to St Stephen's Church, which overlooks the entire bay. The walk back up is steep, and as you climb, the village becomes quieter still. Most visitors leave before late evening. By this point, it's usually just residents and the sound of the wind. High above the bay, the church and its surrounding graveyards have their own collection of stories. St Stephen's Church has stood watch over Robin Hood's Bay for generations. From up here you can see the whole of the village and out across the sea. It's a peaceful location during the day, but at night time it feels very, very different. Some visitors have reported seeing a dark figure moving among the gravestones at dusk. Others describe the sensation of being watched while walking past after dark. There are occasional reports of faint bell sounds being heard when no service is taking place. One long-standing legend suggests that a former rector of the church still walks the grounds, continuing his nightly checks of the village below. Again, nothing dramatic, just quiet experiences that people remember long after leaving. From here you can see the lights of Robin Hood's Bay spread out beneath the cliffs. It's a beautiful view, but also one that carries centuries of history and perhaps a few lingering stories. So is Robin Hood's Bay actually haunted? That depends entirely on what you believe. There are no official records of paranormal activity, no confirmed sightings, just stories passed down through generations shared by visitors, residents and late night walkers. But places like this don't need dramatic events to feel atmospheric. The combination of ancient streets, maritime tragedy, smuggling history and isolation from the modern world creates an environment where imagination naturally fills the gap. And sometimes when you're walking through narrow streets in near silence, with only the sound of the sea in the distance, it does feel like the past is very close. Whether these stories are paranormal, psychological or simply part of local folklore, Robin Hood's Bay after dark is certainly one of the most atmospheric places on the North Yorkshire coast. If you've ever experienced anything unusual here or in any historic coastal town, please let me know. Thanks for walking with me tonight.